Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. It's good to have you with us. We are broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors. And we were talking about, or have been in this last segment, the Defiant Danderond. Eve Danderond.
Yet another story about a homeowner in an association violating the rules and defiantly insisting on violating the rules because he thinks nobody can tell him what to do.
Oh, and it makes me wonder, why do these people seem to be attracted to a homeowners association
in the first place?
like flies or moths to a light? They continue on.
I don't know.
Because they're absolutely miserable themselves.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And you know what? They're not doing any favors for anybody else in the association either.
That's a good point too.
That's
right.
What would happen with Danderond here if he's driving in his golf cart on a privately owned road with the association, but still not allowed to be able to drive because, well, number one, it's not going the same speed as the other vehicles. Number two, there's no seat belt.
Yeah, good point.
Number three, it's a different height. There's a lot of things that happen. Now, Danderond gets into an accident. Where's the first pockets he's looking to for help?
Yeah,
it's going to be suing the association, don't you think?
I would guess so.
Because he's going to say, hey, there's something you association didn't do to prevent me from being,
oh my gosh.
like maybe fining you, like maybe, trying to,
right. You should have prevented me
do
from doing this stupid thing.
Yes.
But the fine troubles me. They're trying to charge him $25 a day, and the reason it troubles me is because it's not realistic. You might as well not have a fine. It's never going to be paid.
You understand why people go with the daily fine. A lot of boards, they like the daily fine. The daily fine to them represents that it shows earnestness. In the fact that it's going to be
it's
continuing
issue,
and it's going to grow. Yeah. We're serious about this in hopes of trying to deter someone.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because all the people that I know, like Danderond said, they're defiant and they say, well, let them fine because I'm not going to pay it anyway.
I guess here's the value. They then have more to negotiate when it gets down to brass tacks. If you're charging $25 a day, you could probably negotiate away a good percentage of that, as long as he starts to comply. But does it ensure compliance? And that's what a fine should do.
No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, some of the things that a number of homeowner associations ought to remember, and that is there are a number of states now that have had the state legislature speak to that specifically and have said you cannot foreclose on a homeowner if it is for fines and violation fees and not because of non-payment of the homeowner's assessment.
That's right. They're making that distinction.
As a matter of fact, that tried to take place this last year here in Minnesota in the Minnesota State Legislature, and I bet you dollars to donuts that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
That legislator is going to bring that back. And folks, if you're in a homeowners association, we need to be aware of that
That's
fact.
Right. Because you may say, okay, you know what, we shouldn't foreclose on someone for golf cart fines, but what about for legal fees because they haven't paid their dues? What about collection costs to the association? They're going to all be lumped in as fines and fees that are not foreclosable.
Yeah, and what they're trying to prevent there, I think, Tony, is the stupidity of some folks in thinking, well, you know what, it doesn't matter if we initially add all these other fees. Yeah, the association's out, but we'll get our money back. Not necessarily. Just because you get a judgment doesn't mean that you're going to get your money.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
because you have the lien on the property and now foreclose doesn't mean that the person's going to pay. If they leave you holding the bag and they walk away,
right?
Guess what? you don't have anything, but you're out thousands of dollars.
Well, foreclosure almost guarantees they're not going to pay you anything, right?
Yeah. Well, it will if it goes that far. And I understand a legislator wanting to stop that, but unfortunately, you can't always stop stupid. You can't.
Hard as you try.
Hard as you try. You can't do that. I don't know that the daily fine would do this.
What I know is if you end up standing in front of a judge, I'm guessing that 99% of judges and referees out there are going to think this is unreasonable, and you're not going to get it anyway.
Mm-hmm. So I think the only thing that the association probably can do, can they do some fining?
Sure. Yeah,
sure
I think
they
should. And I think they should.
I think they can, and they should do that. Secondly, I think they need to continue to use, I think what would be a better use would be to understand that they have the county sheriff and city police force at their disposal. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that anytime someone sees they see a Dandaron sighting with Ronnie in the side seat, that they need to run and give him a ticket, because that's not going to happen. The police have got more important things like a shooting, a burglary, or other things, right?
Yes.
But obviously, if this guy's doing it so defiantly, they are going to eventually catch him.
Sure, if it maybe just report him, so they'll keep their eyes on
a regular basis. Keep your eye out. Report him.
Yeah.
He will get his share of tickets. If he continues on, and the police or the sheriff is saying he's a detriment to the safety of other people, or he has an unlicensed vehicle. That was the issue about parking. You can't have a car parked without a license. That's true in Minneapolis
Good
too.
Point.
It's even though it's your property and you have it parked behind your garage, if you don't have a license, the city of Minneapolis says you can't have your car there either.
That's right.
So if you mention those things, then all of a sudden you allow them to do the ticketing and fining, and the sheriff can begin to do other means. They can impound the golf cart.
That's their process then.
And they would do these things, but it'll take more time, but a much easier way, don't you think?
How about calling the ASPCA? He's endangering his dog. Do you think that's an issue? The dog's in a cart that doesn't have sides, and he's not secured in the cart, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, dang it. Let's call the Humane Society.
Yes. This guy, he is something else. He's a dandy, Mr.
He's
Danderon.
a doozy. He's a doozy.
Yes, he is. Well, that's the story of the Defying owner in the homeowner association. Let's deal with another story here. Tony, I think we can just have time here before break to just begin to frame what's going on. Folks, this comes from the Washington Examiner, and it's the story on the home mortgage interest deduction. I think everybody who has and owns a home knows and understands that when you've purchased your home, one of the things that you get is a credit. Is you get a on your taxes for long-term interest that you're paying.
It's
on
one
a
of
mortgage.
the advantages to owning your home, to
Yes.
having a mortgage, is you can deduct that mortgage interest every year, and it can make the difference between being able to afford a home or not.
Oh, yes. And right now, you should know, ladies and gentlemen, that Congress, of course, is looking at this as the next thing that's on the chopping block here, to take that mortgage interest deduction, and they could cut it so you don't get as much, or stop it altogether.
Yeah.
And Congress has a Thanksgiving deadline for reducing our national debt of $1.5 trillion. That's approaching. Again, Congress has not done anything to the only thing they've been able to pass, and that's after much argument, is extending the deadline, because they can't get to the point of balancing a budget.
They're nowhere close.
Of saying that only this much money came in, that's all the money we can spend. And one of the ways that they're going to try and balance that is with the home mortgage interest deduction. Folks, what do you think about that? Do you think that's something that should be considered? A lot of people in the real estate industry are saying that this one thing could be a huge crushing blow.
Well, it could be the kiss of death, don't you think, with the way the industry is right now? How do you feel about this?
Oh, yeah. We are already in a situation, aren't we, Tony, with so many people who kept purchasing a home. We had this real estate bubble pop.
Yeah.
They are now upside down on their mortgages. They can't afford them. And now we're saying we want to, and Congress is saying we want to help. And they're pointing their fingers to mortgage companies and banks. But here's something that in a very real way helps someone, because the average that a person gets on this home mortgage deduction is between $1,200 and $6,500 a year, depending on their income level and the interest rate. If that's taken away, that's a big chunk out of a homeowner's budget.
Yes, it is. It says that homeowners already pay 80% to 90% of federal income taxes.
Yeah. We've got so much more that we want to cover on this.
Make one more comment, though. This could be helpful to landlords.
It could?
Don't you think?
Oh,
if people can't afford to own homes, then they'll be renting. So there's a bright side.
There's a bright side for landlords, not so much for the homeowner. We're going to talk about this a lot more, but we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, more on the mortgage interest deduction. It's hanging on, but for how long?